Hello and welcome to our webcast for today. We will be discussing managing of machines, data, and resources with Mozy Pro. My name is Craig Cole. I'm the Senior Technical Education Specialist here at Mozy. I spend my time training our support technicians at the various different levels, as well as external teaches to our customers and our partners as necessary. I spend a great deal of time taking engineering information and turning it into things that people can understand. Today, we will be discussing some key components of the workings of our Mozy client, specifically the administration side. We're going to go through a brief slide deck composed of roughly 10 slides, but we're going to spend the majority of our time looking at the admin console tool with regard to purchasing and using our resources, our license keys, and so forth. This is one in a series. We will be offering webcasts such as this on a monthly basis on the third Wednesday of every month at 2 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. We will be posting invitations to this on our website, community.mozy.com, on our community blog, our support blog, and you may see some invitations going up on Facebook and Twitter as well. So keep your eyes open for those, and there will be more to come. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on today's topic. First of all, let's take a look at a basic overview of where we're going today. Today, we want to make it so that you understand the tools that are available to you. Mozy Pro is designed with several tools that give you the flexibility and the capability to make sure that, number one, your data is safe, and number two, you manage the costs involved with managing your machines and their data as well. So we're going to be talking about what's called the admin console. We're going to be talking about managing of users, of machines, of groups, licenses, as well as storage quota, and possibly we'll probably also be discussing the returning of quota if we have the appropriate amount of time. So so first of all, let's get into just some basic things that we're going to have to discuss. First of all, we do have to have a common list of terms because we here in support use some terms that may not be used the way that you're used to hearing them. First of all, the admin console has a designated administrator for each account. This is the person to whom the Mozy Pro account was assigned, or someone who's designated to manage the account by the person who owns the account. This could be your IT person. This could be you yourself. It could be the business owner. It could be the receptionist. It depends on how your company and how your organization is set up, and how you have defined your administrators. This definition of who is the administrator can be changed. You can assign it to a different person. You can move it from what is the defining piece from email address to email address as is necessary or as needed. If you have any questions about the role of administrators and such beyond what we covered today, our knowledge base located at support.mozy.com is a great place to capture this kind of information. So that's an administrator. A user is someone that is assigned to manage a machine that is being backed up by Mozy Pro. So the user is designated most importantly by their email address, and that email address, using that email address, they can log into a web portal if you've made that available to them as an administrator. They also use the email address and their password, whatever they've set up, or whatever you as the administrator has set up, to access the content, to use the tools that are installed on the machine, the Mozy Pro application. It is possible for a user to be assigned to more than one machine, to have many machines that they are responsible for. That is the username and password that they use when backing up. We also need to discuss the term resources. When we talk about resources inside of the support organization here at Mozy, we're talking about the licenses or the license keys that are associated with each machine, the storage quota, or sometimes just called quota, that each machine is assigned, and the machines themselves are technically a resource and are listed inside of the admin console and are referred to on a regular basis as a way to ensure uniqueness when we're talking with our customers. So we'll ask them about a specific machine if they're having problems getting it to work, or understanding how to set it up to work the way that they need it to in their environment. So now that we have some basic definitions done, let's go ahead and take a look first of all at the admin console itself and getting to the admin console. Now most of you should have experienced or worked with the admin console at some point. We have several ways that we can get to the admin console. Now I've listed 3 of them, and that may be kind of overkill, but they all go to the same point. The site that we typically go to access our Mozy Pro admin console features is the top link there. That's https secure.mozy.com/login. However, if you do browse to just mozy.com/login or mozypro.com/login, they will both redirect you to the proper secure location for you to log into your account. This login information, when you're asked to log in, this information is specific to the administrator. It is not allowed for a regular user to log in using these web addresses that I've just listed. So for accessing the admin console, you must be an admin or an administrator on the account. Only an administrator can access it, but you can have more than one administrator defined for your account, and thus you can have them helping to manage your account. If you have, say, multiple groups, an accounting group or a engineering group, you can have a person who's designated to manage the backups over those groups. We'll be talking about the designation of admins at a later date. Let's take a look at the login screen. It's fairly straightforward. This is just a small subsection of that page where you can put your email address and password in order to log in to the system. There are helpful links if you don't know what your email address is for your account or your password. You can get some additional help there to getting to it. This is just a simple screenshot of the admin console. Hopefully you are already familiar with the admin console as an administrator for your account. This gives you a great deal of information. The tool is very flexible and very powerful, but without proper education it can be quite confusing. And again, that's part of our goal today, is to make sure that you're getting most understanding of how the system works and can thus administer your account appropriately. So what can the admin console do after you've logged in? It has a fairly large number of different functions. We don't have time to access and demonstrate each of them today, but some of the things you can do with it are purchase resources like licenses and storage quota. You can create and manage groups of users or groups of the machines which are tied to those users. We can create and manage additional administrators, assign them to the groups that you want them to have charge over. We can transfer resources between groups and users as needed, transfer license keys and storage quota as we need. We can create reports of backups of usage of who hasn't backed up. Those kinds of things are all available to us once we understand the tool. And of course, we can restore users' files as well. If for some reason someone comes to you and has had a catastrophic loss of their machine, the hard drive has failed or something like that, you can go in and browse down to the machine as an administrator and restore the data for them if necessary. So there's quite a few additional functions. Again, we don't have time to discuss all of them, but this is just a starting point for our discussion. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at just a simple demonstration. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of my my slide deck here for a minute, and we're going to spend some time looking at the purchasing and assigning of resources. This is one of the most common reasons why people call support. They call because of lack of understanding of how these resources, number one, make it into the account, but then they fail, even after having purchased the resources, they fail to assign them out to the appropriate groups or people that they want to have access to the storage or the license space. So we're going to go through, we're going to look at a group resource check, which is just to see what groups have license keys and storage quota assigned to them. We're going to look at licenses themselves and quota purchase so we can see what has been purchased. We're going to look at how to assign resources out and also transferring resources between groups. And we're also going to look at returning unused resources for when those times, for those times when you over purchase things and you want to return them to Mozy so you're not charged on your next bill. So we're going to, first of all, I've already logged into my account here. I'm just bringing it up on the screen. This is just a support education account. It's a Mozy standard Mozy Pro account. And I've logged in and I'm looking at the way that this particular system works, or looks at its health anyway. So I can see just some basic things like graphs that tell me what's been going on and so forth. The first thing we're going to look at, despite having all of these features on the left-hand side we'd like to go through, we're going to focus on users and groups to begin with. So I'm just going to click on the left-hand side. I'm going to click on List User Groups, and this is going to give me a list of all the groups that have been created under this account. Now, this particular group or account has had quite a few trainings run through it. So you'll see quite a few, several different items in here. I'm going to go and look. I'm specifically interested in this one called Webcast. You'll notice that we have an overview right here of the users, the admins, the number of keys in both server and desktop, as well as quota or storage space. In this particular case, our Webcast group doesn't have anything. Now I'm going to click on Webcast, and I'm going to take a look at the details of this particular group. Now, you'll notice that I have at my disposal here, from within this particular interface, I can see that there's a Webcast group that has a number of keys assigned, an amount of space that has been assigned. In this case, this group does not have any keys and does not have any quota or disk space assigned to it. We can see users, we can see what keys, we can see what admins are defined, and we can go in and manage the configuration of our various machines. In other words, the configuration of the Mozy Pro client that is installed within this group. And we can tell it that for that particular account, we want these features to be enabled, disabled, or otherwise set to these specific parameters. You'll notice I have several different users here. We can also get from this screen a simple overview of who's in this group and what resources they're using. We have Big Bird, Barney the Dinosaur, and Fred Rogers. Can you tell I have kids? So we have a number of machines. Now we have 0 machines, 0 storage, which makes sense because we don't have any keys signed out. We don't have any quota assigned out to it. None of them are available for anyone. and it's never backed up. So we have just a quick overview of what's going on in this group. Let's take a moment and purchase some resources and assign them out to this group. So to do that, on the left-hand side, our navigation pane, we're going to browse down to the section called Resources. Now, if I click on Resources, it opens up all of the items that are underneath Resources. You'll see they're highlighted in green. That just means that they're available and displayed on the screen. Now, I'm looking specifically at Purchase Resources because that's what I'm going to do. Now, as I purchase resources, I need to assign them to a specific group. In my case, I want them to go to the group that we were just talking about, which was called Webcast. So I'm going to assign to the Webcast group. I'm going to purchase 5 server keys, 5 desktop keys, and I'm going to purchase 20 gigs of storage for each of these. Now, when I click the Submit button, that is not the end of the story. It's going to ask me for payment. Now, in my particular case, I have a 100% discount on my account just because I'm a Mozy employee, which is kind of nice, but this is a demonstration account, so I'm just going to go ahead and click Submit. Normally, I would have to go and set up or put in my credentials, my credit card information and such. Okay, now after I've finished, it says resources have been added to your account. And it gives me a bit of a tooltip or a help here. It says machines on the search list machine, we have to go and allocate them. Excuse me, it says in order to use them, you have to allocate them. This is one of the most common stumbling blocks for people. They purchase resources and they fail to assign them. It's kind of like buying groceries and leaving them in the car and not bringing them into your house. They don't do anyone any good out there in the car. They're not accessible. The same thing applies here. We must take the resources and assign them out to groups or users in order for them to do any good. So let's do that. Let's go back to our group. And we're going to look specifically at our Webcast group. You'll notice that now on the screen we have 5 server keys that have been assigned, 20 gigs of server quota, and 5 gigs of desktop and 20 gigs, just like we saw when we were purchasing. So we have successfully added that. Let's go ahead and click on that, take a look at that user group again. You'll notice that we have up at the top, we have 10 available keys and 40 gigs of quota. And we still don't have anything assigned out to the individual users. Now, every machine that backs up has to be assigned to a user. In order for the machine to function, it has to have a license key. So we have to therefore assign a key to a user so that they can install and put in the license key. We do that by simply clicking on the Keys tab. Hang on just a moment. All right. Sorry, just small technical problem there. Got it fixed. We do need to look at, if we want to, we can come in here, we can see what keys are assigned out and to what person. Now in this particular case, none of them have been assigned, so we don't have access to actually assign them here, but we can see who has been assigned or if someone has been assigned previously. Now, back over on the left-hand side, if you look under Resources, it has an Assign Keys section. If you click on the Assign Keys section and specify the group that you want, it will open up this window. And this allows you to find a key and enter an email address. Now, since we're in a specific group, we know how many keys, how much storage for each one of those. In this case, if we want to assign this desktop key to a specific person, we could type the email address of the person that will be in charge of that. Whoops. So I have created, there we go, we've added it. Now, when you assign it, if you click this checkbox right here, it will email the key out to the user, notifying them, A, that you've got a key for them, and B, that they can take that key and assign it. It also has a link to download the product. So if they need to download the software, they can click that as well. So I'm not going to, because as you can tell, I'm not using a real email address. I'm just going to simply click Assign. Now that's been assigned out to that particular user. If we go back up and look, you'll notice that our desktop licenses and storage have changed. That's assigning keys. It's a fairly routine, fairly simple task to go ahead and assign those items out. All right, so that's assigning of a key. Now what about storage? What if I need to add additional storage to an individual user's account? Well, in order to assign that out, I need to have the machine functioning and listed here, and then I can go and add storage to it. So as an example, I could come in here and do a search for machines in any of my groups. Let's look at this one. Now this one's been backing up and so on. We could look at this particular machine and assign quota if we need to. I just want to show you that you can go and look and see what has been assigned out to a specific user at any point. Let's go back over and look at resources for a minute. We're a little bit short on time. Let's look at transferring resources, because this is another common function within this. Let's say that I have purchased keys and I assigned them to, as you saw, the Webcast group, but what I meant to send it to was the Webcast West group. So if I specify in my Webcast group is the source user group and I wanted to transfer it, I would go and find the group to which I want to send it, Webcast West, and I could say I want to send 3 of the 5 licenses, and I want to send 15 gigabytes of storage over to it. Now this is not purchasing new resources. This is simply taking resources that exist in the wrong group and moving them over to the correct group. A fairly simple process. We click on Continue, and it tells us that resources transferred from the Webcast user group to the Webcast West user group. Let's go and just verify that information. If we come over here and click on Webcast West, you will see that sure enough we have 3 keys that have been transferred and 15 gigs of space, where previously it was 0. We can also see the users that have been assigned out. Now, the last item that I wanted to get to before we finish up for the day, sometimes you overpurchase resources, or your business changes and you need to return these resources that you don't need anymore. We get a lot of phone calls on this, so I wanted to demonstrate it for you just as a simple process for performing this task. On the left-hand side, under Resources, you'll see one that's called Return Unused Resources. If you click on this, it opens up the window, and you can go in and specify from a specific group, if you want, licenses that you want to return. We're going to return all of the storage space here. Now notice, now that we selected a specific group, we can say we want to return 3 server licenses, and we want to return 15 gigabytes of storage. When we click Continue, those licenses no longer are on our account. If we go and take a look at let's just go ahead and look here. Oops, Webcast West. Hang on a second. I probably looked past it. Oh, I can't. All right. My mistake. I forgot. When you return all of the resources out of a group, it no longer is listed in the transfer keys or resource management piece. So let's come back over here and take a look at our Webcast West server group, you'll notice that now we no longer have any keys assigned to this group, and during our next billing cycle, we will no longer be charged for those resources. I just wanted to point out also that when you use this tool to return resources, this is not a way to get a refund. This is simply a way to return so that in the future, for the next billing cycle, you will not be charged for them. If you feel that there is a need for a refund because of some sort of service degradation or other problem, you do need to contact Mozy support and have them interact with you about that. All right, let's come back and look at a couple other things inside of this. The admin console is designed for making your administration of the Mozy Pro client something that you set up and then spend very little time doing. In other words, if you do it right, you will spend very little time after an initial push of setting up your groups and your users inside of this tool. You can come back in here on a daily basis, but if you spend a little bit of time educating yourself on how the system works, you can make it so that it's a one-time or two-time thing and does not require a constant amount of effort and time in order to function. All right, so let's go back to our slide deck just for a minute. This has just been a simple demonstration of how our web admin console system works and how to deal with licenses and quota, both purchasing, assigning, and transferring those resources. We've also demonstrated how to return unused resources if you need to. Keep in mind that as you familiarize yourself with the tool, your understanding of the overall system will expand, and you'll be able to manage some of the other things that are inside of there and get a better idea of how the whole tool works. If you do need additional information or help, I highly recommend that you visit our website at support.mozy.com and click on the tutorial section. You can also, which gives a list of the various web tutorials that have been recorded and demonstrate various admin console and other Mozy Pro and Mozy Home functions in a video format that's easy to watch and educate yourself on how the admin console and other tools work. Thank you very much for joining us today. Again, my name is Craig Cole. I will be providing another webinar or web seminar coming up on the 15th of February. You can check community.mozy.com in the support blog area. You'll note a link to today's webcast. There will also be a link in next week that will include the sign up for the next one, which will hopefully be of benefit to you. We hope you'll come and join us again. Thank you very much for attending, and have a great day.